Hello, everyone. It is now 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you've been with us in other sessions today, welcome back. And if it's your first session here with us today, welcome. My name is Franco, and I'm one of the National Recruitment Officers here at Ryerson University. I'm pleased to be your host for this session on our Ted Rogers Co-op program. This session is one of many taking place as part of Ryerson's virtual open house, which is running this week from November 9th to the 13th, and also next week, November 16th to the 20th. And again, I encourage you to visit our website and register for any other session that you might be interested in. Now, to begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land Ryerson's campus stands on today, the place where we work and learn. Ryerson and Toronto are in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Equity, diversity, and inclusion is something that's important to us here at Ryerson, and we will continue to work on the path toward reconciliation. Now, an update on our campus operations. Ryerson has shifted to an essential services model to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, which was why we have put together a series of these virtual sessions in order to share information with you and connect with you. Ryerson is working diligently to provide students with fulsome experiences while still maintaining the health and safety of our community. Now, just in case this is your first time, if it is your first time using the Zoom platform, just a couple tips and tricks to send your way. We encourage you to ask us questions throughout this session. We do have a team behind here ready to answer your questions. To submit a question to us, hover your mouse over the bottom of the Zoom window where you'll find a Q&A option. Click on that. That should open up a new dialog box, and that is where you can submit your question. If you're having some audio or video issues, maybe you can't hear me very well right now, please also flag it to us in the Q&A, and we'd be happy to help you out. You can also rearrange the screen however you see fit. So you can make the presentation bigger or a presenter screen bigger, whichever works for you. What you do on your screen will not affect the viewing experience of others. And finally, we have also enabled closed captioning. So if that to ensure accessibility. So if you require closed captioning, you can also hover your mouse over the bottom of the Zoom window, and there should be an option there for you to be able to enable closed captioning. So that's all for me. I'm going to turn it over now to our Ted Rogers Co-op team. But to get us started, we'd like to share with you a video talking about what our students think and their experience with our Ted Rogers Co-op program.
When I first came to the school, the co-op program was only being established. I wanted to also be part of that growth, and I wanted to pioneer through it. I've taken all 4 co-op terms with PwC, and as of right now, I stand as the experienced associate for the assurance line of service.
You know, the world is changing around us, and what's interesting is clearly you still go through an internship program in a professional services firm. But if you're looking at a PwC today, you know, we are technology enabled and we're continuing to be technology enabled. So what's interesting today, as we're starting to see some of the demographics, the students coming out of universities like at Ted Rogers, their technology skills and their ability to actually use those technology skills, interestingly enough, we can learn a lot from them as much as actually we're hopefully going to apply some teaching environments for them as well.
I get to work in a group with senior associates and managers on the job at the client site. This is a great experience to build my network, as the client-facing job allows me to meet with the CFO as well as other personnel at the client site. When I graduate, I hope I can continue to work at PwC because it gives me the fastest way to accelerate towards my CPA designation.
Our ability to connect co-op students to meaningful career opportunities in the business community is exactly why the co-op program at the Ted Rogers School of Management has grown so significantly over the last 3 years. In fact, we have just under 2,000 students participating in the program. The program is likely the most industry-facing and relevant program in all of Canada. We've built this program essentially in partnership with business leaders like Serge Gadesco at PwC. I'm Donna Muirhead. I'm the Director of the Cooperative Education and Career Services in the Business Career Hub within the Ted Rogers School of Management. And I'm really very, very pleased to welcome all of you here this afternoon to this info session on co-op. And I'm joined by our fearless leader, Medhat Sederos, who's our manager of co-op within the Business Career Hub. And also we're joined by 3 co-op students who are currently in the program and are going to share their insight, Catherine, Lily, and Ahmed. So now let's talk a little bit about what we call the hub. The Business Career Hub essentially manages not only the co-op program, but the career services team and what we call the boot camp team. And there are other services that we offer as well, but we're going to focus on those 3. So these 3 services, the career services team, the co-op team, and the boot camp offerings are important to you if you're thinking about the co-op program, and it's because they're very much integrated. So the careers team essentially coach our students on job preparedness, but they actually really focus on providing opportunities in the form of programming for our students to actually be able to put stuff on their resume. So a lot of career centers will focus on resume critiquing and helping you with your cover letter, and we do all of that. But we understand that students who are coming to the university don't necessarily have a lot of experience. And so the career services team really focuses on developing programming so that you can actually develop skill sets that you can put on your resume, and in fact help prepare you for getting an interview. So and they put on a lot of employer events to allow you to network. Specifically, the career services team develops prep programs, and the prep programs are delivered and developed and delivered in partnership with industry leaders. And Medhat, I think we need to go to the next slide here, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we've skipped a few slides. We need to go to the prep slide. These prep programs, I'm sorry, Medhat, we're sort of out of whack. These prep programs are really interesting. They're 2 3-day long programs that are actually developed with industry leaders. And the industry leaders not only help develop those programs, but they help deliver them. And so some of the partners are Amazon, Shopify, Twitter, Deloitte, and TD. These are amazing programs that the career services team puts on, value-added programs, and quite unique actually to the Business Career Hub and to TRSM. Now the boot camp is another initiative, another program area offered within the Business Career Hub. And it's one that's truly an absolute success story, not only for the hub, but specifically for students. Pretty much started out 3 years ago when we realized that industry was looking for students who had a pretty strong Excel skill set. And although students learn Excel in the academic courses, we felt that we wanted to provide an opportunity for them to really practice that skill set in a lab setting. And so we started creating these Excel labs for students. And what we found was that they were very quickly sold out. Students really supported these Excel workshops, and we kept adding more and more and more, and they kept selling out. And we realized that, we stepped back and we thought, well, what else could we offer students in this format? And so we went to industry and basically asked them, what is it that you are looking for? What skills would you like young professionals to have in the workforce? And so in partnership with them, we came up with a whole slew of program areas. And so what started as a one program show 3 years ago, Excel, has now led to a program of over 30 offerings. And what's really interesting about the bootcamp offerings, and here's some of them, by the way: Agile Scrum, Design Thinking, Salesforce, Tableau, social media, Python. As I said, there are over 30 offerings and offered throughout the year, every month, multiple offerings. They're peer-to-peer, which is really interesting. It's senior students teaching other students a particular skill set. They're all optional, but they're only available to TRSM students. And the interesting thing is these boot camps draw 10,000 registrations a year. Students are flocking to the boot camps, and they're flocking to boot camps for a reason. They're sold out. They're flocking to boot camps for a reason. And it's because students know that if industry is interested in these skill sets, then they should get them on their resume. And so
Donna, you're on mute.
thank you. I hope I haven't been on mute for the last 15 minutes. Anyway, a lot of fantastic offerings through the Business Career Hub. But of course, you guys are here to talk about co-op. And I think at this point, Medhat, I'm going to pass things over to you as the manager of the co-op program to really walk these students through what to expect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Donna. Before I get into it, I'm actually going to launch a quick poll here. I'm just looking to get an understanding of who is joining us today. So I'm going to launch the poll. Please respond. I'll give you about a minute or so, or 45 seconds, and we will move on from there. Okay, it looks like almost everyone has responded, and I'll quickly share the results. So the bulk of you are planning on applying and joining us here at Ryerson next fall. Some of you will be applying after the for later on, and a few of you are parents, which is fantastic. Welcome to all of you. As Donna mentioned, my name is Medhat Tedros, and I am the manager of the Ted Rogers Co-op program. I've been the manager of the program for about a year and a half almost, and I lead a fantastic team of co-op coordinators, and I'll talk to you a little bit about our co-op coordinators shortly. Catherine, can we go 2 slides forward? So what is co-op? What is the point of co-op? And then how does the Ted Rogers Co-op stand out? And what are we doing to strive to be the best, most diverse and most industry-focused co-op program in the country? So co-op is an opportunity for students to work while they study, to build experience in the industry that they want to be in, to build their network, and to build professional relationships. This is critically important, and it is a factor that really helps students secure and pursue the careers of their dreams when they graduate. And that is what the co-op team is here for, to help support you and other co-op students, you as future co-op students, hopefully, and our current co-op students in pursuing their goals and their career objectives. Now, you might be wondering, I came here for the co-op session. Why did I hear about careers and boot camps? And it's really important to learn about careers and boot camps, because our careers team and our boot camps are fundamentally important and critical to the success of our co-op program. Catherine, let's move one forward. So, yeah, here we go. So, and the reason I say that careers and boot camps are critically important through for the success of co-op is because students are supported before they get into co-op, while they're in co-op, and after they're in co-op. And how do we do that? Well, our careers team supports every student who's interested in applying to co-op by helping you prepare to apply to the co-op program, making sure you understand as a student how to stand out and how to make yourself a student who will represent the Ted Rogers School of Management well and represent Ted Rogers Co-op effectively. Once you're in the co-op program, you have access to our co-op coordinators. They're program specific, so you will build a relationship with one individual who will really help guide you, help you develop your career plan, and put you on the path to being successful as a co-op student. Our industry-leading prep program. So every co-op student has to go through our industry-leading prep program. And I'll go into detail about what the elements are, but this is absolutely critical in your success and in the success of every co-op student, not just in getting the jobs that you want, but being successful on the job and really standing out and making an impression on the employers. You may have caught in the initial slide that Donna spoke about all of the different teams in the Business Career Hub. We also have our corporate partnerships team, which Donna didn't touch on, but our corporate partnerships team is a team of 6 former recruiters who build relationships with industry and bring in the co-op jobs that you are looking for that are of interest to all of our co-op students. Let's go one forward, Catherine. So I mentioned our co-op prep program. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the elements and the value you get from each of these elements as you go through co-op prep. So once you've joined the co-op program, and you may have noticed if you're looking at applying to university right now, you do not have the option to apply to co-op from high school. That is done by design. We're one of the few programs in the country where you actually join the school first, you do 1 or 2 years, and then you apply to co-op. Once you apply to co-op, there's a number of elements that you do. First is the co-op symposium. This is a conference that we host. It's your welcome to co-op conference. This is how we start to get to know you, how you start to understand the co-op program, what's expected of you, what you can look forward to as a Ted Rogers co-op student. You also will leverage the Lumina assessment. So during the symposium, we talk about the Lumina assessment. This allows you to build a better understanding of yourself, your preferred working style, your communication styles, and how to communicate effectively with others in the workplace, as well as you go through your co-op journey. The other component is mentorship. We have a unique peer mentorship program called Co-op Connect, where every new co-op student is paired with a senior co-op student to help guide you through your first year in the program. Co-op Connect runs several initiatives, several events every year, and it gives you the opportunity to build relationships within the program and outside of the program. Our mentors can connect you with their mentors, their industry network, their former managers and supervisors in the workplace. A couple of the events we've done as part of Co-op Connect is currently we're running Co-op Mentor of the Week. So every week on the Business Career Hub social media, which is at Ted Rogers BCH, in case you're looking, and we'll put that on the slide at the end, we post about a mentor, and they provide tips, they answer questions, and they provide a ton of information to help co-op students really learn and develop. One of the core aspects of our program is a sense of community. Our students support each other, and this is not just a Ted Rogers Co-op thing. This is a Ted Rogers School of Management thing. You will have noticed, and you'll hear about it as we get to our student panel about some of the student groups. One in particular you'll hear about today is the Ryerson University Co-op Student Association. But the Ted Rogers Student Society creates a very supportive and engaging environment for our students, and that transitions through all of the elements of the Ted Rogers School of Management, including co-op. So what are the other elements of co-op prep? Well, before I get to that, we're going to show a quick 30 seconds of the video of our co-op symposium. So Catherine, if you can go there and we'll just play. The Co-op Symposium is the official welcome to the co-op program for all of our new co-op students. They get to start to learn about themselves.
I'm the director of the Co-op and Careers team at TRSM, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today at our Co-op Symposium. We're welcoming the newest cohort into co-op and its students across the 11 co-op programs.
I'm in marketing. I'm majoring in accounting.
I'm in hospitality and tourism management.
I'm majoring in law and business, marketing management.
I'm in business technology management.
Majoring in marketing.
And I'm majoring in economics and management science.
And they're here to learn a little more about the program. They're certainly here to meet their co-op team members, and they're here to learn a lot about themselves.
Great. Thanks, Catherine. So that's a little bit about our co-op symposium, and you can see right where we stopped the video, we were getting into the Lumina component, where our students are really building an understanding of themselves, what they're bringing to the workplace, and how to deal with other colleagues in the workplace. So let's go on to the next slide, and we will talk about other elements of the co-op prep program. So I mentioned the co-op coordinators, and this is where you get the sort of assessment and coaching. So one, we've got the assessment is the Lumina piece, but your coaching can build off of that. And your co-op coordinator will not only leverage your Lumina portrait to help you through your journey, but also coach you through not just job search and applications and interviews, but also career planning, understanding yourself, understanding what you want, what your goals are, and really how to work towards those goals. The other great element of our co-op prep program is what we call the live actor simulation. So every new co-op student, we host events. We actually hosted one today. So we are hosting all of our events. Everything that we do is currently virtual, including the bulk of our co-op jobs. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But most of our students are currently working from home and still able to gain valuable experience during this pandemic. And I will note that all of the videos we showed you were filmed before COVID. So it's not that we were not social distancing. This happened pre-COVID. So our live actor simulations, we actually bring all of our students in, and we bring in actors to put you as the student in real world, difficult workplace situations that we teach you how to handle, so that when you go into the workplace, you have had the opportunity to deal with a difficult boss, to deal with a boss who really isn't providing you with direction, and how to have those conversations. So when it comes up in the real world, you're able to navigate that successfully. And then finally, our boot camps. Every co-op student, regardless of which program that they're in, is required to complete our 3-part series on Excel. And you might be wondering, why Excel? Well, when we were building the co-op program several years ago, one of the things we did was we reached out to our employer partners and we asked, what are the skills that you need? And we asked many, many, many employers. And 95% or more said, you need to have good Excel skills. It didn't matter if this was a BTM student, an accounting and finance student, a marketing student, an HR student, everyone needed Excel. So we made that mandatory because we had the boot camps and we were able to roll that out. In addition to that, our accounting, finance, and economics students have one extra requirement before they work for the first time, and that's Power BI. Given the type of work that our accounting, finance, and economics students do, this has become necessary in order for you to continue to be successful and to continue to compete with students from other schools. So that's a little bit about our prep program, and I see that there's been quite a few questions. If there's anything that anyone would like me to answer live, please just let me know and I will absolutely do that. let's move on, and I want to show you just a small number of some of the employers that our students have worked for. So you might not be able to read all of it. I know we went with small print because we wanted to fit as many of these employers on here as possible. But these are just some employers that have hired our students within the last 12 months. So you might see some incredibly big names there. You see Amazon, Adidas, you see all of the big four accounting firms, the consulting firms, the government of Canada, the Ontario Public Service. Every industry that you could possibly want to be in, we're working with. We have had over 600 organizations hire our students. And the list is diverse, right? Public sector, nonprofit, financial services, consumer packaged goods is a new one that we're breaking into. So everything that you could want is here. And if it's not an employer that we're already working with, our corporate partnerships team will work to get that employer. So this is just some of what we're offering. Now I see a couple questions here that I would like to answer live. So one question was, do all of the programs have co-op? And another was, does HR have co-op? All 12 of the Ted Rogers School of Management full-time majors have a co-op option. And we'll talk a little bit about which programs apply when and all of that. But every program at the Ted Rogers School of Management that you could apply to does have a co-op option if you are a full-time student. Another question that is on here is with respect to the Excel boot camps. The question is whether it's Excel and not Google Sheets. Yes, as of right now, our boot camps are Excel, Microsoft Excel, the desktop sort of application, and not Google Sheets. And as I'm sure you know, there are differences there. So we'll jump to the next slide. I'll do a little bit about the application process before we get to our student panel. And I see a couple of the questions here I think are really great questions for our co-op students on the call. But one student also asked about the automotive industry. We have had students work for Toyota, Lexus. We've had, and Lexus actually, one student actually was able to work for Lexus in New Zealand. So they were able to not only work in the automotive industry, but also work internationally. And we've posted roles for a number of other automotive industry, automotive partners. So applying to co-op. Some of our programs apply after first year and some apply after second year. Regardless, the deadline is always June 1st. So if you are applying to accounting and finance, business technology management, hospitality and tourism management, retail management, or you select entrepreneurship as your major, if you're in the business management program, you apply after first year, and everybody else applies after second year. There is a minimum CGPA requirement, which is 2.8, except for accounting and finance, which require a 3.0 CGPA, which is approximately a 70 to 75%, if I'm not mistaken. And the application does require you to complete a resume, a cover letter, and a video interview. So this is where the Ted Rogers Careers team comes into play. This is the area of expertise that they can support as you complete your application. They can help you with all of those documents as early as, you know, the week you get here in September, all the way right up to just before the deadline of the application. I'm seeing the number of questions is jumping. So when I pass it over to the student panel, I will hop on and answer some of those questions via text as well. So the application, fairly straightforward. Some of the questions you might have right now is there a cap on the number of students that we let in? Right now, there is not. Any student who meets all of the requirements of the CGPA, they complete the resume, cover letter, and video interview, and demonstrate to us that you would be a strong representative of the Ted Rogers School of Management, everyone can get in. So don't worry about that. Don't let, you know, competition be the reason you don't apply to co-op. So I think the best way to learn about this program is to really hear from people who are going through the program. So Catherine, if we jump to the next slide, please. I would love to introduce to you our three co-op students who are currently in the program. If you three would come off camera for us. So we've got Lily, Catherine, and Ahmed. They're all three are from different co-op programs. And I'll start off by asking each one of them to provide maybe a 1 or 2 minute introduction to themselves, what co-op program they're in, a little bit about the work terms that they've done so far, and very briefly why you wanted to be a co-op student. So Lily, why don't we start with you?
Hey, awesome. So hi everyone, my name is Lily and I am going to my last year of the Law and Business Co-op program. I completed a few co-op terms now, two of which was at the Canada Revenue Agency, and my most recent two, which one I'm completing right now, is at TD. And I initially applied to co-op because I did co-op in high school, and that was a really enriching experience, and I was able to learn a lot. And so when I chose Ryerson, one thing that stuck out to me was the co-op program, and the ability to hit the ground running with 16 months of experience, and the industry network to back up whatever new grad career that you want to go into. And so that is kind of why I applied to the co-op program in itself. And just kind of a little bit about the community of support that is available, which is also another point in which when I was going to apply to the co-op program in my second year was a really big plus. And that was RUXA, the Ryerson University Co-op Students Association, that Matt had mentioned in the beginning. And it's a student group that supports students who are interested in and are already in the co-op program. And we're able to really support throughout the process, in addition to the resources that are available through the Ted Rogers Co-op team, as well as the Business Career Hub. So that's a little bit of it in a nutshell.
Okay, so I guess I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. I'm currently in my 4th year in the co-op program, majoring in global management studies and minoring in ITM. I'm currently on my 2nd co-op work term at Boston Consulting Group, and my previous work term was for the Ryerson Entrepreneur Institute. And I really want to highlight that work term because it was my first work term, and I got the opportunity to be a part of a student-led consulting group that catered towards small, medium businesses that were struggling during the pandemic. So that was a really unique experience. The reason why I wanted to join co-op was because I wanted that experience, that kind of taste of what it was like to work in the corporate world. Originally, I think I always envisioned myself just going into my master's right after my undergrad, but after going through the co-op program, getting some experience on the work terms, I realized that I wanted to go into consulting, and that was something that I wanted to do. And before, I never even thought of consulting. But based on my past experiences on my work terms, I realized that it's something I enjoy doing. So co-op has given me essentially changed my career path. It's opened up many opportunities for me, and again, what Lily said about the Ryerson University Co-op Students Association, or RUXA, they host really good events, networking opportunities, as well as social events that really bring the co-op community together. I got to meet other co-op students, get tips from them, ask them, how to apply for jobs and how to stand out. So that was an amazing opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Catherine. Ahmed, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. My name is Ahmed Madinam, and I'm a 3rd-year student at Ryerson in the Accounting and Finance program. And I'm happy to say I completed my first work term this last January at PwC as an audit associate. And I'm looking forward to going back this coming January. My co-op experience was very unique because, as you know, 2020 was not your very conventional year. I had a first-hand experience with online audit, which was not something a lot of people can say. And I guess the reason that I chose to go into co-op was because it's one thing to hear about people's experience about their job, their field, And especially within accounting, there's so many different routes that you can take, be it tax, audit, or consulting. And it's a whole different thing to actually experience it for yourself and decide what you like and what works for you. And I feel like co-op was the absolute best way to go about that. And I'd recommend it to anyone who was, I guess, who can't decide what they would want to do with their major, or what they would want to do in their field. And also another shout out to Raksha, which a student group which I am part of, and I'm happy to say that has taught me a lot and has let me meet a lot of people who think like me or have different opinions, and have helped me grow into the student and the person that I have become.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ahmed. So we've got a couple of questions that are directed to you guys. So I'll start off. There's one for Lily. Lily, the question has to do with law and business, and how were you able to apply your business and law knowledge to your co-op employment, and what courses did you take that helped in your jobs?
I can kind of answer it. So the good thing about the business management program, which has 7 majors, so you might get to learn more about Catherine with global management. It's one of the 7 majors of the business management program. And the great thing about the program is that for your first 2 years, you have various courses from different majors. So whether that be accounting, finance, as well as global management, as well as marketing. So you're able to have a diverse course load so that you are able to apply a general business commerce knowledge. The Excel that Matt had talked about. It didn't really require a lot of data in it. So I guess
I think
Yeah,
having some tech problems.
Lily is having some technical difficulties, so why don't we move on to another question? There's 2 questions that one is directed at you, Catherine, and one is referring to GMS as a whole. But the question for you is, why did you choose global management and minor in ITM versus sort of choosing BTM as your program? So Catherine, if you want to give that one a shot.
Yeah, so I chose to go into BM, business management, and then major in global management studies because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. You're supposed to pick your major in first year in the BM program. There's 7 majors to choose from, and I was panicking. I'm like, do I go into marketing? And then if I don't like marketing, it's a long process, to change my major, do credits apply and things like that. So global management studies is a little unique in the sense that it's very broad. And I think that's one of the advantages of the major is because you get to learn about, of course, supply chain management, operations, processes. You get to learn about marketing, there's economics, and about global issues. And I felt that global management studies would teach me essentially everything, and hopefully make me a more well-rounded individual. And then I can from there, I can choose, what path do I want to go to? I have this diverse background, diverse knowledge. So my options are more open. And I was originally going to minor in finance. And I think a lot of global management studies students minor in finance because a lot of the courses overlap. But I switched into ITM as a minor. I'm currently pursuing that. I switched into ITM because I felt that technology, no matter what program you're in, no matter what major, what job, that's just an essential skill, something that you need to have as a basic knowledge, as well as make you competitive, in the workplace and when you're applying for jobs as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Catherine. And another question, and maybe Ahmed, you could take a a stab at this one. How do you manage your schoolwork and co-op?
I guess that's a really good question, I would say. In terms of like when you're applying for a co-op placement, it's really about organizing your day. I know in my experience, applying for a co-op position was like a whole other course in itself, because the amount of time and effort you put into your applications. But I guess one thing to realize is that you have people around you that can help you make that process easier, especially at the Business Career Hub, with people like MedHat, who can help you with your resumes and cover letters and things like that. So to make sort of easier the process. Outside of that, when you're actually working a co-op term, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe you can take courses while you're working, though that is up to your employer. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ahmed. So I will expand on that a little bit. You can take up to one course on a work term with permission from your supervisor and your faculty co-op advisor. So just a couple of notes. Co-op is a work integrated learning program that requires sort of alternating between work and study. So typically you would be in the classroom, and then in alternating terms, you would go out to work. So you can take a maximum of one course per work term with that permission. But each program has a slightly different sequence with respect to when you work and when you're in the classroom. There's a couple questions on here about, for example, is it possible to keep your co-op job if you change your major or minor? So your minor isn't actually something that is officially declared until, close to when you graduate. So that's something that you work on, and you know the requirements, and that's something you pursue. Your major, if you were to be in, and I'll use global management studies as an example, if you were to be in the global management studies co-op program, and you're working this term like Catherine is, and let's say Catherine decided to change majors and become a marketing student. She could absolutely do that. Now, whether or not she becomes a marketing co-op student, she would have to go through a bit of a process. But if she were to change majors to marketing, she would be required and expected to complete this term at her current co-op employer. So that is something that she would finish. And then once she was back on campus in the winter, then she would officially be a marketing student, and whether she was a marketing co-op student or not would be up to her and the faculty advisor. There's a question here about the length of your degree, and co-op does add a year to your degree regardless. The reason for this is, again, because you are adding working terms between your academic terms. So instead of doing your straight through 8 terms, you're adding 4 additional terms, and for BTM 5 additional terms. Our BTM students actually do 5 work terms, whereas everybody else does 4. So it will increase the length of your degree by 1 year. You will finish in 5 years, but you graduate with 16 months of work experience. And so the extra year is offset by your work experience. Now, I wanted to sort of have our co-op students tell maybe just one brief, very quick story in a couple of sentences about maybe a standout experience you've had on a co-op work term. So who wants to go first? No one wants to go first. Okay. I'm not sure if I should be concerned about that.
I'll take a shot at it first, I guess.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ahmed.
Sure. So the first, I guess, standout moment for myself was, let me see. I guess the biggest thing for me was when I finished training, I would say, because as an auditor, you do with PwC, you do about 2 weeks of training. And on my first engagement, I was working with a group of about 4 other auditors, and we were working at a security company. And so walking into my first day, I didn't know what to expect, and there was a lot of like anxiety and I guess suspense about what they would expect from me and what I was expecting from them. But once you, after a few days, you kind of ease into it. You kind of understand that they're there to help you and learn, and you're there to learn as well. And it was just a great experience for me to, I guess, see that like it's not as scary as it may seem to work a co-op term, especially as myself. I was 18, working with people who were like my parents' age, which is like it's kind of daunting when you think about it. But it was a really great experience, and I really enjoyed my time as an auditor, despite the I guess the stereotypes around it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Very quickly, Catherine or Lily, did you want to share one quick story?
I can share a quick story. And this is probably at the time in my 3rd co-op term at TD. And I was just really impressed by how I was treated, not as like an intern, but as a part of a group that values students and their efforts into it. So it's really good to see that an organization will have initiatives that like recognizes your efforts. So really stand out was that every month we had socials, we had many initiatives that recognized our achievements, big or small, within each role. And we also, at the end of it, we had a great conference or a get together, and we're able to share stories amongst all the students. So it was really stand out in the sense that even in the workplace, you're able to establish a community, and they may not all be co-op students or may not be all interns, but you are really able to establish a connection with those who are in full-time, and you're really able to carry forth through, I suppose, the rest of your journey. So very standout experience from that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lily. Catherine, anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to mention, I know I discussed this briefly about my first co-op work term, but I like to talk about it a lot because it was honestly, it was a really cool and unique experience that I had. So essentially, we created a student-led consulting group, again, that helped businesses free of charge that were struggling during the pandemic. And I think what was really what stood out to me was this opportunity, was the fact that I got to make an impact, like a long-lasting impact, make a really big difference on local businesses. We worked with hair salons in, Toronto, downtown Toronto, in the Beaches neighborhood. And, hair salons, as a result of the pandemic, they were hit really hard. So we were, crucial in helping them to reestablish, to re-innovate, and helping them continue to be sustainable. I also got the opportunity to work with a client in Italy who owned their own local tour operating business in Abruzzo, Italy. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But again, tour operators, tourism, that whole industry was something that was also heavily impacted by the pandemic. And it's a small business as well. And those small businesses couldn't really hard to survive compared to large businesses who have more resources, more capital. So it was just really cool for me to see the impact that I had on small businesses.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing that, Catherine. And that's the first time I heard this story about the small business in Italy. So that's really fantastic. A couple of questions that I wanted to answer. One was related to sort of the differences between co-op in high school and co-op in Ted Rogers co-op. And there are certainly differences. For the bulk, if not all, of high school co-op is unpaid. So that's a major difference. Is every co-op role at the Ted Rogers School of Management within the Ted Rogers co-op program, every co-op role through Ryerson University must be paid. That is a requirement and something that we make sure, and we work very hard to make sure that every role we're bringing in is a paid full-time opportunity for students. Other differences certainly is, co-op is an academic program. You do get graded, but your grade comes from partly from the evaluation that the employer provides with you, and partly the report and the write-up that you do that talks about your experience and your learning on the job. So that's where your grade comes from. It is graded by your faculty advisor, and each one right now anyway, sort of asks different questions of you, depending on what program you're in. So those are the major differences between high school co-op and university co-op. But again, the Ted Rogers co-op program takes it one step further. And in addition to sort of the work that you're doing, there's all of these other elements through our co-op prep program that are allowing you to build and develop your skill sets and your knowledge even further than just going out and working. So major differences between high school co-op and university co-op.
MedHat.
Yes, Catherine.
May I pop on just very quickly, because I work with the high school students and we've gotten this question quite a bit throughout the day at some of our other sessions. One of the other huge differences between high school co-op and co-op and university is that within your high school class, you have a co-op class and then you have a designated amount of hours. So I think I've said this a few times today, around 160 some odd hours that you do for your high school co-op placement. But in university, your co-op placements, they're throughout an entire term. So when you're doing a co-op placement, you are not necessarily in school. So I think MedHat mentioned you can do one class with permission from your department or the department head. But typically our students are not taking classes while they are in co-op. They are solely focused on those roles and getting the best they can out of that experience. And then they come back, depending on the work sequences, you do come back for a term, and then you're in class. So there's at the high school level, it's like a very small taste of what co-op can be. And then of course, Med had mentioned it, the compensation, which is a wonderful part of co-op to help you supplement your education.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Catherine. And to build off of that, Catherine's absolutely right. In high school, co-op is one of your classes that you take, and then you do a little bit of work for along with it. At the university level, in the Ted Rogers co-op program, your job search is something you have to do in addition to your full-time courses. And then when you're working, that's your full-time job. You work 9 to 5 or whatever your schedule is. You're working 40-hour work weeks. You are putting in sort of a full week's worth of work. And you may have to be applying for your next co-op job in that as well. So it is additional work, and I can see Lily nodding like, yeah, it's a lot of work. It absolutely is, but I can promise you, and I was a co-op student myself, so I can promise you from personal experience, it's absolutely worth it. And I think Lily, Catherine, and Ahmed would attest to it. And Ahmed's only been through one co-op work term so far and going into his second. So, and I imagine even he will tell you that it's worth it. The extra work is difficult, but just that extra work alone, applying to co-op jobs, will teach you a ton of skills. It will teach you a lot about yourself, time management, your own resiliency, your ability to problem solve and manage things. And you might get an offer for an interview and it's during one of your classes, or it's during a time when you have a midterm and you have to be able to react and solve that problem very quickly. These are all things that you'll learn, and that's even before you get on the job and learn the job skills that you will need to be successful. I see a couple of additional questions here that we've been asked to answer live. One of them is, what careers can you pursue with majoring in global management? And I think this is a great question, and Catherine, I'll get your input on this as well. But I was previously both the career consultant and the co-op coordinator for the Global Management Studies program, so I do have a little bit of insight. But Catherine mentioned this earlier when she talked about why she chose Global Management Studies. Global Management Studies is quite the broad program. It allows you to learn from all of the different elements in the other majors, but from a global perspective. And so when you graduate, sure, you can use it from that global perspective, and we see students go into trade. We see students go and work in sort of partnerships development for organizations that are abroad or here, and building relationships with partners around the world. But we also see global management studies pursue things like project management, or we've seen global management studies students go into marketing or consumer product management. The great part about a lot of the programs at the Ted Rogers School of Management is just because you've chosen something as your major does not mean that's what you need to pursue, right? That does not mean that that's where you're going to end up. And I think that as a business school, the Ted Rogers School of Management has a number of really unique programs that allow you to branch off in very different directions, regardless of your major. Global management studies is one. Law and business is another one, where sure, you could pursue a law degree after, but you don't need to. And a lot of people, students, and even graduates don't recognize how much the law is a critical and important part of business. And having that knowledge, regardless of whether you're working within the law, that can be really beneficial. So global management studies and law and business entrepreneurship are the kinds of programs where you can widen your focus, and that allows you to have more options, as many options as you want, really, to pursue. And what we've done with our boot camps is add this element of additional training, so you can take global management studies, but then also get really great with technology through our boot camps and go into technology consulting. And actually, global management studies is one of the highest rates of graduates going into technology consulting outside of BTM. So, and a lot of people are surprised by that. So I hope that answers and helps with that question a little bit. There's another question that I've been asked to elaborate on live, which is speaking about the fees. So co-op is an opt-in program, meaning that you choose to apply to co-op, you choose to be part of the co-op program, which means that in your tuition, your normal tuition payment, you're not paying for co-op unless you are a co-op student, which is why there is a $3,500 fee. This fee is a fee for service. It's not a fee for work terms. It's not a fee for the jobs that you get. It's a fee that goes to building the teams that support the co-op program. It goes to making sure we have corporate partnerships managers to source the jobs. It makes sure we have co-op coordinators to help prep you as a student. It allows us to run our symposiums and our live actor simulations and so on. This fee is broken up into several payments. So you're not going to pay the $3,500 in one go. You will be charged starting in the fall, the first term after you are admitted to the co-op program, and you pay a fee every fall and every winter. You will never be charged in the summer. And again, the fee is not tied to your work term. So you're charged fall and winter regardless of whether you're working or in the classroom. So that, I believe, is one of the last questions I see here for answering live. Certainly, there's we have 2 minutes left, so we can answer a couple more questions. But is there anything else that the team would like me to answer live at this point?
So I'm just going to pop on because I see Percy has had a few questions come in and talking about the application process. So to all of the students on here, to apply to the Ted Rogers School of Management programs, if you're applying straight from high school, it is a grades-only program. So we're looking at the required courses for your program of choice, and then your best 6 grades. You don't have to worry about a supplemental application for admittance into the Ted Rogers School of Management. But if we're talking about extracurriculars that you've done at the high school level, if you have volunteer experience, those are all wonderful things to put on your application for co-op. If you want to get involved in other student groups, sometimes you have to apply for those and do an interview. Those are all great experiences to get your foot in the door for all of these other types of opportunities. So while you don't need them for our application process to get into the program, it's still a great idea to continue to look for those opportunities and get that experience under your belt, because it will help you not only build on your skills right now, but help you grow your network. And when you start working with the BCH and you start building your LinkedIn profile, those are all wonderful things to put up there as well. So Percy, I really do hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Catherine.
Med Hat, maybe you have something to add.
Yeah, I think Catherine's absolutely right. The application to co-op is completely separate from your application to Ryerson University. We, as a co-op program, are looking for well-rounded individuals. So as I mentioned, there is the CGPA requirement, but it's not the entire requirement. We're looking for well-rounded individuals, strong communication skills. If you've got some work experience, that can be really helpful. But it's not absolutely necessary. If you've got volunteer experience, and certainly if you have done high school in Ontario, and I know many of you are from around the world, so you may not, but if you've done high school in Ontario, you've been required to do volunteer experience, so that can help. If you've played sports, if you play music, if anything that can demonstrate some skills and that you have the ability to go into a workplace and be successful, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at it from a holistic point of view at a high level for the co-op admission process. I've been asked to answer the question about whether or not it's possible to get fired from a co-op job. It is. Once you are a co-op student and once you're employed by an employer, you are their employee. They are absolutely able to fire you. Now, what we do, and this comes from our really strong relationships with industry, our really strong relationships with our employer partners, is we speak to our partners, and one of the things that we ask of them when they begin to hire our co-op students is that they give us the opportunity to coach our students if there is an issue in the workplace. We have minimal number of students who are terminated because we are able to step in and provide coaching and help students self-correct before we get to that point. And we've built relationships with our partners that have allowed us to do that. So while it is possible, and it's always possible, whether you're a co-op student or a new grad or any point in your career, getting fired is absolutely something that could happen. But we make sure that you are as prepared as possible before you start working to make sure that doesn't happen, and we'll coach you on the job to make sure that you can self-correct, including something we call our co-op check-ins, which is where throughout your work term, we'll actually come on site, we'll meet with you, we'll meet with your co-op supervisor and make sure that you are on the right track, and if not, if there are issues, we will help you correct those issues. Wow, quite a few more questions came in. I will answer a few about, one is international students. Are international students allowed to do co-op, and are they successful? Absolutely, international students can apply to co-op. We have a good number of international students, and we've had our international students be incredibly successful. In fact, every year we give out co-op awards. This year, one of our co-op awards is, and it hasn't been announced widely yet, so don't tell anybody, but one of our award winners this year is in fact an international co-op student. So not only are you allowed as an international student to join the co-op program, but we've seen our international students be incredibly successful and take that knowledge away afterwards and be able to thrive in the start of their careers. Absolutely. I think we're out.
I'm just gonna mention that it is 6:04. So just want to be conscious of time. Any last piece of advice that any of our students, or Medhat, maybe yourself or Donna, you want to share with our students before we wrap up for this evening?
Why don't we start with our co-op students? Any final bits of advice you guys would like to share?
I was gonna mention that I think there was a question concerning like applications, like can you apply before your co-op work term, like for jobs? And yes, you can. You should apply as early as possible. Like I think I secured my second work term before I even started training for my first work term. And currently I'm looking for my third work term, which starts in the summer, like now. And I think the earlier you submit it, the better your chances are. There's less stress as well. So last minute, you're not scrambling, you're not sending 10, cover letters at 11:58 and applications at 11:59. So definitely apply as early as possible if you do get into the co-op program and you start applying for those jobs.
Fantastic. Thanks, Catherine. So I guess my last piece of advice, and maybe Catherine on your end, if we can go to the second last slide with our contact information there. One, I would encourage every single one of you to join the Ted Rogers School of Management. The community, the support you'll get here is unparalleled in my opinion. And then obviously, please consider the co-op program. And we can help you. We can support you even from now. If you have questions, you have anything that you would like to know about the co-op program, please connect with us on our social media. Come to our website. You can send us an email. We will get back to you. Someone will have a conversation with you in order to help you make your decision. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid to reach out and connect with us, because we will absolutely connect with you and give you as much information as we possibly can. And finally, I'd just like to thank you all for coming out, and I'd like to thank our student panel for being here and sharing their input as well. Franco, back to you.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank our presenters for sharing their knowledge and experiences with our guests today. We're now going to be shutting down our audio and video, but we're still going to be online for a few more minutes just to answer any last minute questions that we get. So I encourage you also actually to also make note of any answers that you received from us today before the webinar ends, because once we end this session, all of that is going to go away. So on behalf of Ryerson University, our entire team here, thank you once again for joining us today. And we hope that you have a great evening, and I hope that we can see you in other sessions later this week. Have a good night.